Fallout 4 has quite a few mysteries going for it. Just a few days ago, I actually talked about one such mystery involving a missing synth. But today, we're not going to look at one mystery, but three. If you guys enjoy the content, you can leave a like or subscribe, but with that, we'll keep the intro short and jump into the first one. Far Harbor is arguably the best part of Fallout 4. For many, it's their favorite DLC, but even beyond that, a lot of people just consider it to have some of the best quests and story out of the extended Fallout 4 game. One thing that obviously is very present on Far Harbor is the fog. But what is that fog? Where did it come from? How did it appear there? There have been various theories addressing this on Reddit posts and different forums since the DLC's release. And yet nowhere within Far Harbor or Fallout 4's base game do we get any confirmation of even the makeup or how the fog got there. The fog itself is deadly. It seems to be some kind of combination of radiation and natural fog. We know it comes in waves or cycles. Old Longfellow talks about when he was younger, it used to be much worse, and many of the people actually forget about that. But as we enter Far Harbor, they're going through a particularly bad point in the fog as it has taken over most of the island, and if not for those fog condensers, it very realistically would have wiped out the island as a whole. The children of Adam themselves actually claim that it's Adam who's bringing this fog, who's bringing it in such strength, and the fog is so powerful because the children of Adam returned to Far Harbor. But the scary part about this is, if they don't know the nature of the fog, and they obviously can't predict its patterns, how do they know if it's ever going to stop growing? Maybe this time is just the point in that cyclical cycle where the fog condensers will no longer be able to hold it at bay. The fog obviously has mystical and powerful properties. Some of the creatures you stumble upon on Far Harbor are the largest and most deadly throughout all of Fallout 4. The fog crawlers in particular are some of the largest natural occurring enemies in the game, and even beyond that can take more damage than pretty much anything else. So the question does stand, what is the makeup of this fog? How powerful is it actually? Could it eventually take over the whole island or create further and more powerful mutations? Lorenzo's crown is immediately a source of mystery, but when you actually dig deeper into it, look into its lore and backstory, it becomes even more mysterious and scary. Lorenzo found this crown in a burial site 400 years ago in which he described as alien. He sealed up the rest of the site and traveled back to the Commonwealth with his crown, but was then locked up because it kind of took over his body. Eventually you do free him through the quests in Fallout 4, but the mystery of the crown, and more specifically its origins, still do remain. What is the crown? A lot of people make comparisons to Dwemer artifacts that you see in Skyrim, but there's nothing really to suggest that that is actually true. There's no other real crossovers between the Skyrim universe and the Fallout universe, at least nothing more than a simple Easter egg. The crown itself gave Lorenzo powers. He had enhanced strength, localized telekinesis, and even immortality, thus him living 400 years. What exactly is this crown? Obviously they do call it alien, but despite a number of interactions with Zetans in many different Fallout games, you never see anything looking like this. Does that mean there are other alien species out there? And even beyond that, what about the actual dig site itself? If this crown held such power, what could some of the other stuff in there do? Lorenzo sealed it and buried it, but somebody could have dug it up. It has been 400 years after all, and of course other people who dug with him know its existence. Some people may be more passive and smart about it like Lorenzo, but others could use it for bad. Especially desperate nations on the brink of nuclear destruction. This seems like something that they would want to harness and actually use. When you actually do complete the quest, Lorenzo gives you an artifact that you can attach to a gamma gun. What it's going to do is actually convert some of its energy into more pure damage. And that's only one artifact that you attach to human technology. Imagine what a full alien gun could do, how much damage that could actually do. Seemingly there's no resistances to it. And last but not least, we have the origin of the Gunners. The Gunners are arguably Fallout 4's most formidable foe. I would definitely much rather face super mutants or raiders before you take on a full squad of Gunners. They always have some of the highest level armors as well as equipped with the most powerful weapons. And depending on whether or not you take Creation Club as canon, they actually have some extremely rare and unique weapons also. And yet despite their widespread presence in the Commonwealth, it's still totally unclear as to where they came from. Are they simply retired military or descendants of retired military? But if that's the case, why have they turned on everyone? Why are they immediately aggressive against you? They're obviously a very powerful group of mercenaries, but how did they get there? They're also very well trained. One theory that I've explored in a different video actually suggests they came from Vault 75, being a group of highly trained children that eventually turned on their masters and escaped. I'll have the full video linked in case you guys want to hear more about that, but Fallout 4 never truly confirms or denies that, but it does leave many questions. Where did the Gunners come from? What pissed them off so much to want to attack attack almost everyone? And most importantly, how do they get such high quality and strong equipment? Is it simply just from looting the local caches, or is there more to it? So those are 3 mysteries that Fallout 4 never gives us the answers to. Some of them are alien, some of them are fairly simple with just a powerful foe, and of course Far Harbor's fog could be a much bigger issue than anything else. That's pretty much going to wrap it up for this video, but of course we do have today's psychology fun fact of the day, and that's going to be on social isolation. There's been a lot of talk over the past few years about social media's role in creating social isolation. Social isolation is not what you may initially think. A lot of people assume if you interact with a bunch of others throughout the day, you'll be totally okay, you're being social. But you can interact with literally hundreds of people each day and still suffer from social isolation, as one of the main characteristics of that is not actually having meaningful social relationships with those around you. If all of your outward relationships are fairly negative, you'll probably suffer from social isolation. What does that actually mean? Well, first and foremost, the obvious one, you're at a much higher risk of depression. But even beyond that, there's certain biological risks. You're more likely to get sick, like the cold or the flu, and it'll take you longer to get better. People with social isolation actually typically get cancer and heart disease more often. And again, that's more of a correlation than probably a causation. And in general, just less happiness overall. So really what the takeaway from this should be is just because you have a ton of interpersonal relationships doesn't necessarily mean you're not isolated. Either way, I'm going to wrap it up for this video. As always, again, I thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I hope to see you all next time. Later.